Let me get some water.
Okay.
Real quick.
Right quick.
Entertain the people.
Do-do-do. Do-do-do. Bum, bum, bum. Ba-na-na-na-na-na-na-bum, pretty sure we're going to get copyrighted for that song. Well, welcome, everyone, to Prone to Ponder. We started to add extra R's to the end of our name.
It's like 13 R's.
It's 14. So, welcome back. We wanted to give a couple shout-outs.
So we'd like to thank
Chris for supporting us for $1 a month.
Well, not even 99 cents.
99 cents.
Sprung for the.
That's
the
not
big
even
one.
a cup of coffee nowadays. But thanks, Chris.
Hey,
We
it
appreciate
really
you.
does mean a lot.
If you do want to support us, we have our link to our Anchor profile, which is anchor.fm/prone2ponder. You have a couple options of what you want to sponsor us. If you like what we do, or if you don't like what we do, and if you get a good laugh or you want to make fun of us, support us. You have a couple options. Go to anchor.fm/prone2ponder.
Rock and roll. While we're there, let's drop the commercial for Anchor.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what are we talking about today?
Well, my first question, and we're going to dive a little deep in today, because we talked about movies, and we talked about aliens and religion, and even told some funny stories. But if you do want to hear those, we do have other podcasts on our platform, so go check those out.
I recommend podcast episode 1 and podcast episode 3. Feel free to skip 2.
2's great. So I wanted to talk about, let me ask you a question here.
Okay.
Do you think having a life full of no trauma, you can still have a good life? Or do you think that going on in life, say you go from 0 at birth to 85 with no trauma, no issues, no nothing, everything was point A to point B, you never had an issue, life was pretty breezy. Do you think that's a good life? Or do you think that trauma actually makes a person?
Well, I think, let me think about that. I think trauma is necessary to build character.
Yeah.
I heard something from a pastor like 10 years ago, and I've never forgot it. And he said the only thing that you get to bring with you to heaven is your character.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's true. Like,
yeah.
That's the only thing we're bringing with us is what we've learned here.
Yeah.
And the person that we have become. And I think that trauma helps build character in a way that success and love and happiness and all the good things in life doesn't do for you.
Right.
Because you're not building character in the same way when you're really, really happy versus when you are really sad and there's something that you have to go through.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I think it's completely necessary. I don't think it's enjoyable.
No.
I'm not a masochist, but it's definitely necessary.
Yeah. It is such a weird thing because, we've both gone through a lot of trauma in life, and sometimes it can make or break certain situations. If it doesn't, if it doesn't build you, it breaks you or something like that. I don't know. There's a saying somewhere out there that's like, but I think our world sometimes glorifies trauma a little bit too much. Everybody's like, look at me, I'm depressed, and look at me, I'm having issues. And because I think also social media and things like that play into that factor where we're looking for that dopamine niche, that thing to kind of make us feel a little bit better.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's also sort of been skewed in a way over the years that not that it's okay to be going through trauma, but I think people are going through things and they're just leaving it there. Yeah. They're not fixing it because they're like, right. Oh, well, I'm broken, so I'm just going to stay broken.
Yeah, and live like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I'm depressed, so I'm just going to stay depressed because everyone's depressed. And it's easier to be depressed than it is to fix whatever the issue is and move forward.
Right, and then you spiral down that hole. And it's hard. It's hard to be in a hole like that where it's like sometimes you feel like you've dug that hole, and sometimes you do. Sometimes you do dig that hole. Sometimes it gets dug for you, and
right.
It's hard to get out of that when a lot of the times you feel like people are just pushing the dirt back on you, and you're trying to get out, and they're just pushing more and dirt, and then you're drowning in all this dirt. And yeah, it's hard. And sometimes you're right. Like, it can be comfortable to sit in that depression and sit in those issues.
So what's that that line in Hamilton? George Washington's talking to Hamilton, and he said, "Dying is easy, living is harder."
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's such a good line.
Because nowadays, I mean, we were watching. Oh, what was it? I think it might have been Zac Efron. No, it was a podcast where they said. I mean, I think America. I could be wrong. I should probably look this statistic up. That America has the highest rate of suicides. I could be wrong. But it definitely is up there. You gonna look it up?
Yeah.
Good choice. And so I was listening to this podcast, and Joe Rogan was talking to this guy that went to like the Congo, and he met these people who literally walk around naked all the time. Like, they just don't believe in clothes. And he like brought up the concept of like suicide, and they're like, "What? Like, you kill yourself because of what? Like, what causes you to jump off a bridge, or what causes you to do certain things?" It's such a weird concept, especially now. It blows my mind that it's nowadays, like, it's so common nowadays that people just get caught up in it. And it's also sad that some people have resorted to that end goal to like, look, my life is so bad that I don't want to do the work anymore, and I want to, end it. Did you find it?
I did.
What is it?
We are actually 27th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Number
1, Lithuania.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's intriguing.
Number 2, Russia.
Yeah, so it is such a weird thing that it's so normal. It's just so normal nowadays. Now, you and I have both kind of struggled with depression in different ways. Mm-hmm. How do you get out of it? How do you get? Because you and I we enjoy a lot of the same things, but we're not the same person.
Right.
And I think that is what makes us friends.
Yeah. Yeah. When I'm depressed, I just try to tell myself, stop being depressed.
Yeah.
And if I can fake getting out of that successfully, then the next thing I know, I'll actually be out of that. A fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes, and that's, to me, I wouldn't say, I know there's clinical depression out there and everything like that. And I don't think I'm clinically depressed, but when I do have those spouts where I am depressed, the only times that they're ever really bad is when I choose to be depressed.
Acknowledge it and stuff.
Yeah. Like those 2 years after my divorce, I chose to be depressed.
Yeah.
And I made that conscious decision every morning. So
how does your depression show? Because
you tell me, how does my depression show?
So you get very angry.
Yeah.
And for my depression and how it works, I shut down. Like, it's just been sort of my mechanism. If I were to hit like a really bad point, I'm just my brain just goes, "You're done," and just sit. And I either need to, like, some people watch movies to enjoy a movie. I watch it just to blankly stare. Escape. And that's sort of mine. So I think with yours, how we experienced it is, if people don't know, we were in a band together, and it was at a really just rough. So we were at a band together, and we also lived in Nashville together. So we were stuck in a room. We shared a room together. We shared a closet together. We shared a bathroom, not at the same time, but we shared all these things together. There was never really any, like, there was a little bit of divide, but there was never really, like,
there wasn't a whole lot of alone time.
Right.
Because we went to school
together.
We drove together to school, drive home together, hung out with the same friends. Like you said, lived in the same space.
Right.
So there was really no way to escape unless we went to work.
Right.
Or one of us was at work and the other one got to stay home for a while. But
that was about it.
Yeah. So, and that was tough because, like I said, I was consciously choosing to be mad.
Right.
And to be depressed.
Right.
That comes out with aggression.
Yeah.
And I get really short-tempered.
Right.
And I get mean.
Yeah.
And I want people to be as sad as I am. And I'm sorry that I did that to you.
You don't have to apologize. That was like 3 years ago. It's okay.
I've done my fair share of work to earn my trust back from Colin.
So you were able to. Let me ask you this: did you do anything to get out of that? What did you do to get out of that?
Well, yeah. What did I do after those 2 years to get out of that? I chose. I've always been a mind over matter kind of guy, right? If I can believe something. And if I can choose to believe something intentionally, that's all I need to move past it. and to move forward.
Yeah.
And like, ask anyone I know, and you know this, it's always, well, I'm going to say I'm going to do this, but are you actually going to do it? What's stopping you? Why aren't you doing it?
Yeah.
If I say, okay, today I want to be a better person, I'm going to work to be a better person today.
Right.
I'm going to have an action plan.
Mm-hmm.
There have been days where I got up and I made a list on my phone of things that I had to do
Yeah.
to be a better person that day. And that looks different every day for me. But it was a conscious decision of being like, okay, I've seen that being depressed and being in this place is pushing people away from me, which is what I wanted.
Right.
And that's why I chose to do it, because I had let somebody in and then I was hurt.
Right.
I pushed everybody away.
Right.
I started to realize, well, that's no way to live your life. If you're going to get hurt, you're going to get hurt.
Right.
And there's no stopping that.
Yeah.
We don't live in a perfect place. We
No.
live in a broken world. No matter how many people I push away, I'm going to get hurt. So why not? I mean, this sounds so pessimistic. Why not get hurt by the people you love? Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I decided. I'm like, look, I'm going to let these people in, and I know one day somebody's probably going to hurt me again.
Right.
But that's a hell of a lot better than being alone.
Right. And you made a conscious decision to be that way, to live in that muck. And you decided, like, later on, like, look, I'm done. Like, this is, I'm going to accept that things happen and I need to move on.
Yeah. It was a big part of that. Wes Anderson movies.
Really?
Yeah.
What about it?
Specifically Royal Tenenbaums. That movie.
Is that the train one?
No, that's Darjeeling Limited. That one helped me out a lot
think
too.
I've seen that one. I might have.
Yeah, that movie is just so good. The way that he tells a story of dealing with pain in such a light and comical way. Yeah. I tend to look at my life, and even when I'm going through like immense pain and struggles, right, you gotta find the little funny things in there, right? Yeah. I wish my life was a Wes Anderson movie. Yeah. Because I would dress a lot better. But no, that one is one of the movies that really helped me through, and I probably watched that movie 100 times. Yeah. The dialogue really is cathartic. Seeing other people go through stuff, you're like, all right, well, maybe my life's not that bad. Right. And maybe I could pull myself out of this if I choose to. Right. And that's the cool thing about his movies, is it always ends up, there's not some Deus Ex Machina that comes in and fixes the problem for everybody. Right. They get off their ass and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna be better. Right. Yeah, it's such a weird thing. I was at a work event, and this was probably about almost 3 years ago, and I was at a work event at a therapy office, and they were talking about what they do and how they acknowledge it and how they fix it, and they were listing like all these symptoms of depression, and I was just like, oh yeah, I've got about 9 out of 10 of those. I'm like, I need to do something. And that's when my boss was like, at the time, she was like, dude, like, your insurance covers this, like, you should go. And I'm like, yeah, I think I should, because I was so comfortable living in that I was like, well, this is just who I'm going to be. Right. And I never really had an opportunity to, I did go to therapy at times, but I think at the time I just thought I would be strong enough to, these things are going to feel this way, and I'm just going to feel these ways forever, but I'm still going to live my life. But I was like, I'm feeling these things like a little bit too often. When I finally started seeing somebody, and when you're told a lie for most of your life, you tend to believe that lie. Oh yeah. So, telling yourself, or whoever is telling you, you're not good enough and all these things. I heard this quote from Gary Vaynerchuk or something. Gary V. Gary V. He goes, if there's a voice inside your head that's telling you you're not good enough, I want you to know that was not put there by you. Somebody else put that there. And that gave me a different perspective. And I was like, wait a second. So I've been believing all of these things, that I'm not good enough, that I'm amount to nothing, that I'm going to work at Jewel for the rest of my life. There's nothing wrong with working at Jewel, but for me it is. Please sponsor us. Sponsored by Jewel. The Jewels. What I was saying. Yeah. So I think for the longest time I was believing all these lies, and finally someone who had like an unbiased opinion, wasn't anybody I really knew actually at all. And they were like, look, whatever you're thinking is, I'm sorry, but it's wrong. And it's toxic to you. So you need to start doing something different. One thing that I took away from this is, like, everybody's situation is so different, and everybody's, their upbringing is so different. And the longest time I thought, well, what if I was this way? Or if this happened, if this didn't happen, would I be different? But it's like, you have to acknowledge, like you said earlier, you just have to acknowledge that things happen.
and you can't change it.
Yeah, and it's easier said than done.
You're right, absolutely. But people get caught up in the fact that like I'm always gonna feel this way. This is my life, but it's like that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's life changes at some point.
It could be though. For
It
some
could
people,
be.
it is.
Yeah,
Because they choose to sit in it.
exactly.
Because
it's
it's
a choice.
easier than doing the work.
It's a choice. And I'm not victim. I'm a villain of that as well. Like sometimes I believe that I will always be this way or I'll always act this way and I never try to fix it. But I think it takes a lot of strength for someone to realize what they're doing is toxic to themselves.
Right.
It took about almost a year and a half to finally get out of what I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, doing certain exercises, working on just trying to make sure my life is better. And I tried to find the root of what was causing this, whether it was, you know, certain scenarios, certain people, certain ways I thought of myself, and I decided to change that. Trust me, like there were mornings I hated waking up, and all I wanted to do was sleep and do nothing all day. But it's like, well, I have a choice. I can either sit here, wallow in my filth, or I can do something about it. You know, how I think you and I operate differently, you wake up, if I can speak for you, you can wake up and be like, I got to work out today. I got to work. I got to do it. And I'm just like, I got to work. I got to go to school or whatever. And I got to work out. And I just don't want to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a quote where it's like, get up, shut up, and don't ever give up. And that really resonates a lot with me. I love quotes and I love like listening to quotes. I got a quiver in my voice. I'm just going to start crying. I love quotes. They resonate with me. Like for me, I need something that helps motivate me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really wish I had a mindset. And I think it's still possible to get a mindset like that, to be able to just be like, I am going to do my work.
Flip a switch.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it does take time to build whatever.
We grew up doing this thing called 5130. It was like a guy's ministry. Helps guys go through exercises to better themselves in the future, and exercises that you can take home and practice and learn and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Back when Dan would do that teaching about fear and saying like you have to flip the switch.
Yep.
You have to choose not to be scared.
Right.
I've taken that to everything that I do. You know, depression, sadness, anger, fear. Doing my very best to consciously, like, to understand, yes, I have feelings, and my feelings aren't bad. Like, God gave us feelings because it helps us live our life.
Right.
So you can't run from those, and you can't choose to not have those feelings.
Right.
But you have to take a step back for a moment, get a little bit of perspective, and be like, okay, what is the appropriate reaction to this emotion?
Right.
And if you're depressed and you wake up in the morning and you recognize that,
right,
which most depressed people do recognize, oh, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I don't feel like I want to do anything,
right,
whatever that may be. If you recognize that, that's the first step.
Yep.
Now you just have to be like, okay, do I want to be here or not?
Right.
And if you don't want to be here, then it's easy.
Right.
Flip the switch, move forward. Eventually, your emotions will catch up.
Yeah.
Your emotions will catch up to what your body is doing. That's why going out and doing something new, like traveling, helps people. That's why going out and working out helps. That's why hanging out with friends, healthy friends, helps. Doing something, if your body is doing it, your emotions will eventually catch up.
Right.
But if you recognize that you're depressed and you're sad and all this kind of stuff, and you choose not to do anything about it, you're the only one to blame.
Right.
Because you're choosing to sit in that
and mellow,
and wallow in your yuck,
and it's only going to push people away.
And it's only going to push people away, and it's only going to get worse, and you're only going to go down a deeper, darker hole.
Right.
And next thing you know, you're going to be turning to destructive things.
Right.
And even people who are on like depression medication, I know a lot of people on depression medication, it doesn't fix your depression.
Right.
It helps you deal with your depression.
Right.
And I don't think that's the right way to go about it. It's like find what the root of the issue is and fix it. Don't turn to a drug that is going to help you sit comfortably in your depression,
which is so dangerous to get off that drug.
Yeah,
where it can screw things up even more.
Right.
You know, and it gives you just because your body is depression is like it's a scientific like fact. It is a chemical imbalance in your body.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is a lot of studies that say like you can, if you do this drug, it will help you in the long run. I'm sure there is a lot of success stories, but in my opinion, not a lot of drugs solve things that regard to the human mind.
Right.
And this is just my opinion. People can disagree. That's totally fine. But to go back to what you were saying about 5130 and why it I think benefited us in the long run is it acknowledged a fact that no one will acknowledge in our society, that men are put on this or painted this certain way, that men have to act this way, that they don't cry, they don't have feelings, they don't get depressed, they are hard, they are manly. But that's just not true. And I'm not saying like men are fairies or men are men.
Yeah.
And men have feelings. And I think people don't acknowledge that enough. And to be surrounded by a group of guys and to be in a community that was built off that, and we all acknowledged it, that we were like, you know what, man, my wife and I fight all the time, and she just doesn't acknowledge my feelings.
Yeah.
And she just doesn't, she says I need to be this way and I need to do this and I need to do that. And she just doesn't listen to my feelings. So I just feel like I'm trapped. And for other men to be like, I'm feeling the same way.
Yeah.
And to get a different perspective on maybe that's happened with that guy and maybe he knows what happened. Now it might not work.
Right. Maybe he did something that helped that situation.
Exactly.
And now you have a group of guys that you can go to for any situation.
Right.
Be like, yeah, this is what I'm dealing with. Has anyone dealt with this or have ideas for me to how to deal with it?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that's something that everyone should have, a group of people that they can go to. Well, especially if you're dealing with depression, you should have a group of people that you can go to.
Absolutely.
And say, hey, this is how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that I've tried helps.
Yeah.
Or for some reason, I can't muster up the energy to go do something that people say will help. Because that's what it really comes down to a lot of times, at least I've noticed with you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you're depressed, I'm like, hey, let's go do something. You're like, nah, I just want to sit here. Don't really want to do anything.
Yeah.
And I get that. I do. And sometimes, and that's a conscious choice to be like, yeah, well, I would rather sit in these feelings than move away from them. And hey, that's preaching to the choir because I sat in those feelings for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I always want people to know this. If you do bring your feelings to friends and they don't acknowledge them or tell you to shut up, get rid of those friends.
Yeah.
Those are not friends. Those are toxic people.
Those are schmucks.
Schmucks. No one should ever have to deal with this alone. And I think this is going to get really nerdy right here, but what gives me peace and what helps me motivate myself. I read this comic, not this comic, it was like a little snippet that someone made, that most superheroes that were created had some sort of trauma in their life. Batman lost his parents. Bruce Wayne deals with, multiple personality disorder. Tony Hawk,
superhero number one.
Tony Hawk broke his skateboard. Tony Stark was an alcoholic. Spider-Man lost his uncle, watched his uncle die. But it didn't stop them from doing good.
Yeah.
Yes, they're fictional characters, but they're based off of good.
Yeah, and they're still flawed.
Exactly. Humans are flawed.
Yeah.
And that gives me so much more peace. And I think a core belief in my life is that I will do good for people. I will do good with people. And I feel like my God-given purpose on this planet is to help people in any way that I can. There's no really specific place.
Yeah.
Knowing that, for the longest time, I was like, I'm just not going to do good. I've got all this shit on my back and all these demons and I'm never going to go anywhere. And it's like, I'm no different than those characters or people out there that have been like, I was a heroin addict for 15 years. All I was going to do was shoot heroin up my leg and
we don't know how heroin works.
I was gonna shoot heroin up my ear and but then they turned it around and decided, nah, I'm done. I need to make my life better. I almost said my ass, didn't I?
You did.
Which, man, hey man, it
that'll get you going.
Yeah, it'll get you going. It's erotic and it gets the people going. I need to be reminded that of a lot of times. Yeah. And I think I'm very fortunate to have a lot of people in my life who I have been monsters to that still go here. I mean, some literally and figuratively, that wasn't even a word, slap me in the face and say, what you are doing is destroying yourself.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate you for doing that.
Oh, well, thanks, man. I don't like to see anybody sad for no good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when those reasons are because you're telling yourself I should be sad.
Yeah.
Or I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
It's like, no, shut the up. You're good enough. Let's go get a drink somewhere.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And you need somebody to do that with.
Yeah.
Everybody needs someone to do that with.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so now something motivating.
Yeah.
So on those days that you feel really good,
Mm-hmm.
that you're on that high, you're in a really from shooting up that heroin in your leg.
Love.
on those days that you're feeling really good,
Yeah.
what do you do to motivate yourself? What do you do to change the world? What do you do to make yourself feel really good and help the people around you feel really good?
So one thing, for an example, what I did for the longest time, if people don't know, I do work at a gym. And if you don't know about Orange Theory, it's basically like group training that deals in heart rate-based technology and gives you more scientific-backed results. I made a decision about 1.5 years ago that I wanted to finally get in the best shape that I ever wanted to be in. And I was about 60 pounds overweight. I was in a terrible relationship. And I decided, okay, we need to cut something out. And I cut her out. And I think that was I shouldn't say terrible. It was very toxic.
Yeah.
Because there were some good points. But it was a very toxic relationship. It was going nowhere. So I had to make a conscious decision. And for me, what I struggle with dealing with a lot of things at the same time. And I need to, and some advice that I got from a therapist was to take that and mush it down into one thing. Start with one thing. And whether that's getting up every morning and telling yourself, you don't suck. So that helped me. So what I did is every day, I had a friend help me make a shout out to Ian, you're the best, made me a workout program. So I did 2 days of Orange Theory classes, and then I did 3 days of lifting, and then I took 2 days off.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for 3 months. And every single day, I would post on Facebook. And the posts were not for acknowledgement. They were not for praise. I didn't give a shit if they got no likes. I just posted it.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that the point of it is now that Facebook has something you can do, it's like your memories. So that if 1 year or 2 down the road, I can I can look back and go, and say like 1 year or 2 down the road, I'm back in the same depression state that I was in. I can look back and go, I did do it.
Mm-hmm.
I am capable. I was able to lose the weight, and what I did is I added on one thing. So I made sure for the first month or 2, I need to work out 5 days a week. No exceptions. Every single day. If I had to wake up at 5 a.m., I did it, and I didn't work out.
Yeah.
So then it was either you need to add on or take away something. So add on like maybe an extra day or take away some bad habit that you're doing. So I took away eating badly, like desserts.
Mm-hmm.
I love desserts. So I took away desserts, and then, whenever I was able to get over that feeling, then it was like, all right, something new. What do I need to do? I need to take away all the junk food. Awesome. Take away all the junk food. And I started taking away certain things, and it was crazy how it happened. By like the 3rd month was when it like clicked and everything just started shaving off. And I would post my results on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is, and people started noticing. And I shared my success story. And it's not like I was doing any fad diet I was intermittent fasting for the most part, but I wasn't doing any fad diet that people, the ones that don't work. I was sharing my experiences, and I had this one person come up to me and said, wow, what you said resonated with me, and I started taking away like toxic things. She was like, I lost 10 pounds in a month. And
That's
I was
awesome.
like, wow. Like, so that to know like what I am doing is making an impact.
One person at a time.
Right. One person at a time, which what I said earlier, like helps me understand that like it helps me fulfill what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing on this planet.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's great. We went to go see Tom Harmon speak a couple years ago, and he said something that I'll never forget. He's like, your life is like a jar.
Yeah.
You can only fit so much stuff inside of it. And if your life is full of toxic waste, you're not going to be able to fit all the good stuff that you want inside of there.
Right.
So the more good that you start putting into that jar,
Mm-hmm.
that waste is going to start overflowing out.
Right.
And if you're shoving that good stuff down into that jar, all the other crap is just going to start pushing out the top.
Yeah.
And getting out of your life. I think that's a great thing to remember when it comes to trying to motivate and trying to live a happier, healthier life.
Yeah.
Start picking up good habits, and eventually those bad habits are going to start to fall away.
Right.
And, a lot of them you do have to do very intentionally. You have to be like, all right, like you said, cutting out desserts, cutting out late night pizza, and all those kind of things.
It's the hardest part.
Which is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, picking up healthier habits and not even like eating and working out, but traveling is so good for the mind. And it's so good for your body to go out and experience new things. And it doesn't have to be to Hawaii. It could be cross state lines. Just go somewhere and be somewhere that is not familiar.
Yeah.
Use your brain in a way that you didn't have to use your brain last week. It's all of these different habits and these different things that you can pick up that will help motivate you, and you'll start to feel like all that crap is just falling to the wayside.
Right.
Which is
by
great.
the wayside. By the wayside. I hope people understand that trauma does happen in life. People,
Nobody's perfect.
I gotta work it again and again till I get it right. Nobody's perfect, and I gotta work it again and again till I get it right. And nobody's perfect, nobody. You just put me in my Hannah Montana mode. How dare you?
Colin used to have Hannah Montana posters in his room as a kid. And by kid, I mean a 16-year-old young man. Moving on.
Oh. So I hope people understand that, like, life is like a roller coaster. You're going to, in so many different aspects. You're going to do twists. You're going to do turns. You're going to do turns. You're going to do some turns and some other bullshit. And that was one of the best advice that I got is, like, on a roller coaster, there's a lot of highs, there's a lot of lows. And sometimes you are in no control of the lows.
Sometimes you're having fun. Sometimes you're not.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're terrified.
Sometimes you pee your pants.
Sometimes.
Like I'm about to do in like 2 minutes.
Someone throws up on you.
Yeah. Which we've all been there.
We've all been there.
So I hope people understand that you can do it. Don't listen to what if people are telling you if bad people where did I get this accent? Where did this come from?
It just went straight Milwaukee.
If bad people are telling you that you need to go up to Saskatchewan, Canada, if bad people are telling you that you are not good enough, cut those people out and move on, because you are good enough and you can do this. Drop the mic. That's the best I can do.
Colin just flicked the microphone to make it sound like you dropped it. Nice. Yeah. Okay, so little words of encouragement to send people away with.
I want to say you are beautiful. You are wonderful. You are meant here. You are here for a reason. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
You're good enough, and you are loved.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, I hope you all enjoyed episode 4 of Prone to Ponder. Do we have a quote contest this week?
I never got a response about the last one.
Me neither. But we're going to keep doing it anyway because it's fun.
I got you a present.
If it's a severed head, I'm going to be very upset.
It's a gun rack.
I don't even own a gun. Why would I need a gun rack? All right, well, there's a quote. Let us know if you know what movie it's from, and we'll shout you out in the next episode. Don't forget, go to anchor.fm/prone to ponder to support the podcast. You could give 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99 a month. That would be greatly appreciated. We love you all. Stay safe out there. Stay healthy.
Yeah.
Stay motivated. Let's make the world a better place.
Rock on.